Hola guys, this is Senora Plasted. I'm going to be doing the last part of this chapter, Chapter 1A, ¿Qué haces en la escuela? We're going to go over gramática, grammar, verb conjugations, and the final review. So let's begin. All right, stem changing verbs. In this lesson in Spanish, you'll be able to use stem changing verbs to talk and write about classroom activities and exchange information about a typical school day. So let's begin. Stem changing verbs, you remember them, they're also known as boot verbs. So the stem is the beginning part of the verb before the AR, ER, IR. Like in the verb empezar, it is the beginning, the empez. Stem changing verbs, they have a spell change in the beginning or stem of all forms in the present, except nosotros and vosotros. So if you look here at the verb pedir, this E changes to I in the front, but only in the boot, right? We also know these as boot verbs. Notice the boot-like shape the verbs are in. So the E changes to I here in the boot, except for nosotros and vosotros. They keep the same E from pedir, right? So there are three kinds of stem-changing verbs you have learned. To review them, here are the present tense forms. We have poder, O to UE, empezar, I to IE, and pedir, I to I. Si no puedes contestar una pregunta, ¿qué haces? If you can't answer a question, what do you do? Right? This comes from poder. Notice the O changes to UE, and then you still have to conjugate the ER ending. You drop the ER and add the new ending. So, generalmente le pido ayuda a otro estudiante o al profesor. Generally, I ask for help to another student or to the teacher. Notice pedir, the E changes to I in the boot, and you drop the IR, and the yo form, you still have an O ending. So pido. So let's go through them, right? Poder, O to UE, to be able to or can. So I expect you to write down the verb, what it changes to, underline this O, O to UE, and the definition. And then I want you to write this boot here, all right? All of the verb conjugations and everything you need. So, yo puedo, I can. Tú puedes, you can. Usted, él, ella puede. You, formal, or he or she can. Nosotros podemos, we can. Vosotros podéis, y'all can. Ustedes pueden, you all can. Ellos, ellas pueden, they can. Pedir, this E changes to an I, and then don't forget it's still an IR verb. You still have to conjugate the IR endings, and this means to ask for. Yo pido, I ask for. Tú pides, you ask for. Usted pide, you formal ask for. Él, ella pide, he or she asks for. Nosotros pedimos, we ask for. Vosotros pedís, y'all ask for. Ustedes piden, you all ask for. Ellos, ellas piden, they ask for. Empezar, this E changes to IE, and it's an AR verb. You still have to remember the AR endings. O, as, a, amos, an, right? It means to start or to begin. So, yo empiezo, I start or I begin. Tú empiezas, you start or begin. Usted empieza, you formal begin. Él or ella empieza, he or she begins. Nosotros empezamos, we begin. Vosotros empezáis, y'all begin. Ustedes empiezan, you all begin. Ellos, ellas empiezan, they begin. Again, we know these as boot verbs because they have this boot-like shape, and that's where the stem changes happen. They do not happen in the nosotros or vosotros form. Notice it's not yo empiezo, and notice it's not nosotros empiezamos. It's yo empiezo, empezamos. All right, let's keep going. There are more stem-changing verbs. We're going to go through O to UE stem-changing verbs, the one U to UE, E to IE, and E to I. So these are the verbs we're about to go over, and you're going to be writing all of their conjugations down. All right, so you can pause the video and start writing down the conjugations, and then you can replay it, and we'll go through it together. All right, the verb dormir, to sleep. This O changes to UE, right? We, o, we. And it's an IR verb ending. You still need the IR endings here, like imos. So Yo duermo, I sleep. Tú duermes, you sleep. Usted duerme, you formal sleep. Él or ella duerme, he or she sleeps. Nosotros dormimos, we sleep. Vosotros dormís, y'all sleep. Ustedes duermen, you all sleep. Ellos, ellas duermen, they sleep. El perro duerme mucho. The dog sleeps a lot. You treat the dog like a he, she form, right? The él duerme mucho. The verb almorzar means to have lunch. So you'll write that down. And that this O changes to UE, right? We have we, o, we. And notice the boot shape. Yo almuerzo, I eat lunch. Tú almuerzas, you eat lunch. Usted almuerza, you formal eat lunch. Él or ella almuerza, he or she eats lunch. Nosotros almorzamos, we eat lunch. Vosotros almorzáis, y'all eat lunch. Ustedes almuerzan, you all eat lunch. Ellos, ellas almuerzan, they eat lunch. Present tense of the verb jugar. Jugar means to play a sport or game. It is not yo jugo, that's juice. It is juego. Notice that the U changes to UE. But it's not juegamos, it's jugamos. Because nosotros is not in the boot, the U does not change to UE. So we have yo juego, I play. Tú juegas, you play. Usted juega, you formal play. Él or ella juega, he or she plays. Nosotros jugamos, we play. Vosotros jugáis, y'all play. Ustedes juegan, you all play. Ellos, ellas juegan, they play. So if I ask you, ¿juegan ustedes en el colegio? Do you all play at school? No, no jugamos mucho. No, we don't play a lot. And notice, because in the nosotros form, it does not stem change. So here we have pensar, to think. Yo pienso, tú piensas. Usted, él, ella piensa. Nosotros pensamos, vosotros pensáis, ustedes, ellos, ellos piensan. This E changes to IE. So make sure it's right. You have the ye, ye. And it's an AR verb, so you still have o, as, a, amos, an, and those endings. Yo pienso, I think. Tú piensas, you think. Usted piensa, you formal think. Él or ella piensa, he or she thinks. Nosotros pensamos, we think. Vosotros pensáis, y'all think. Ustedes piensan, you all think. Ellos, ellas piensan, they think. Entender, to understand. This E is the one that changes to IE. And it's an ER verb ending, so you still have to know your OSE, hemos, en. So yo entiendo, I understand. Tú entiendes, you understand. Usted entiende, if you're talking to an adult, you formal understand. Él or ella entiende, he or she understands. Nosotros entendemos, we understand. Vosotros entendéis, y'all understand. Ustedes entienden, you all understand. Ellos, ellas entienden, they understand. The verb preferir, to prefer. This second E, the E closest to the ending, is the one that has the stem change. So this E changes to IE. And it is an IR verb, so notice the emos here. Yo prefiero, I prefer. Tú prefieres, you prefer. Usted prefiere, if you're talking to an adult, you prefer. Él or ella prefiere, he or she prefers. Nosotros preferimos, we prefer. Vosotros preferís, y'all prefer. Ustedes prefieren, you all prefer. Ellos, ellas prefieren, they prefer. So if I ask you, ¿prefieres jugo or leche? Do you prefer juice or milk? ¿Prefieres salir o ver televisión? Would you rather go out or watch TV? The present tense of the verb querer, to want. To say I want something, you say yo quiero. You want, tú quieres. Usted quiere, you want formal. Él or ella quiere, he or she wants. Nosotros queremos, we want. Vosotros queréis, y'all want. Ustedes quieren, you all want. Ellos or ellas quieren, they want. E to I stem changing verbs. We have the verb pedir again, to ask for or to order, which you wrote down, and the verb servir, to serve. So we have here, yo pido, I ask for. Tú pides, you ask for. Usted pide, you formal ask for. Él or ella pide, he or she ask for. Nosotros pedimos, we ask for. Vosotros pedís, y'all ask for. Ustedes piden, you all ask for. Ellos or ellas piden, they ask for. Mi tío siempre pide la cuenta. My uncle always asks for the check. And then the verb again, servir, to serve. This E changes to I, and it's also an IR verb. Yo sirvo. Tú sirves. Usted sirve. Él, ella sirve. Nosotros servimos. Vosotros servís. Ustedes sirven. Ellos o ellas sirven. So if I say, ¿cuándo sirven el postre? When do they serve dessert? Right? You could say, sirven el postre a las 10. Repetir, to repeat. It is the second E, always the E closest to the ending, that stem changes. The E changes to I. We have repito, repites, repite, repetimos, repetís, repiten. And notice, I underline these E's because they don't change. They are not in the boot. So this is actually one of the activities I assigned to you, and we're actually going to go through it together. So it says, mi clase favorita, my favorite class. Leer, escribir, read and write. Completa las frases con la forma correcta del verbo apropiado. Complete the phrases with the correct form of the appropriate verb. So I have here, es increíble, pero mi clase favorita blank a las 7:30 de la mañana. It is incredible, but my favorite class blanks at 7:30 in the morning. So is it understands or starts? It starts at 7:30 in the morning. So you got to conjugate the verb empezar. So it would be empieza a las 7 de la mañana. The teacher, el profesor, señor Díaz, es muy simpático y el blank que todos tenemos mucho sueño en la mañana. So the teacher, señor Díaz, is very nice and blanks that everyone is sleepy in the morning. Does he ask for or does he understand that everyone is sleepy? He understands that everyone is sleepy. So you got to conjugate entender to the L form. It would be él entiende que todos tenemos mucho sueño. Ningún estudiante blank en esta clase porque siempre estamos muy activos. Not one student blanks in this class because we are all very active. So not one student wants or not one student sleeps. Not one student sleeps. So you got to conjugate not one student to dormir, which would be duerme. Yo creo que los estudiantes blank las clases que tienen más actividades. So I think the students blank classes that have more activities. Are they able to or do they prefer? They prefer. So it would be prefieren. Because of estudiantes, the students, you would use the they form, the ellos form. Generally, señor Díaz blank las instrucciones para las actividades 2 o 3 veces. Generally, Mr. Diaz blanks the instructions for the activities 2 or 3 times. Does he want the instructions or he repeats the instructions? He repeats the instructions. So you got to conjugate repetir to Mr. Diaz. That would be repite. A veces, nosotros no blank los ejercicios en el libro. Sometimes we don't blank the exercises in the book. Is it we don't understand or we don't serve? We don't understand. You got to conjugate entender to nosotros. Is there a stem change in nosotros? No, there isn't. So you keep this E, and so it's just the regular ending, hemos. Entendemos. Los ejercicios en el libro. Blank, y blank ayuda. And we think help or we ask for help. We ask for help. So again, you got to conjugate pedir to the nosotros form, and since it's nosotros, there's no stem change. It would be pedimos. El señor Díaz siempre blank ayudarnos. So Mr. Díaz blank helps us. Is it plays to help us or is able to help us? He is able to help us. So that would be puede ayudarnos. Negatives. In this lesson in Spanish, you'll be able to use negatives to read and write about other people's likes and dislikes and ask and answer questions about activity preferences. So, negation. To say no to something. The word no in Spanish can mean no, not, do not, or don't, and it goes before the verb. The verb me gusta cantar, right? I like to sing. A mí no me gusta cantar. You don't even need the a mí. You can just say no me gusta cantar. I do not like to sing. When the answer to a question is negative, you need two negative words. Two negative words are required. The first no answers the question. The second no says do not, like you would answer in English. ¿Te gusta correr? Do you like to run? No, no me gusta correr. No, I don't like to run. So the first no means no. And the second one is don't or do not. No, I don't like to run. So note that in English, double negatives are acceptable in Spanish. Sometimes the more negatives there are, the better it is. So, like we said, the more negatives there are, the better it is. So if I say, ¿te gusta cantar? Do you like to sing? You can say, no, no me gusta nada. No, I don't like it at all. So the first one is the answer, no. The second one is I don't. And nada is not at all. So no, I don't like it, not at all. So just keep that in mind, that they don't cancel each other out. In Spanish, they just are used as emphasis. If you want to say that you do not like either of two choices, use ni, neither nor. So if I want to say, no me gusta ni nadar ni dibujar, I don't like neither swimming nor drawing. Yeah, you wouldn't say that in English. You would say, I don't like either swimming or drawing. But in Spanish, the more negatives there are in a sentence, the better that it is. Disagreement or agreement. If you want to say that you don't like to do something either, use tampoco. No me gusta nada cantar. I don't like to sing, not at all. A mí tampoco, me neither. If you want to say that you like to as well, use también. Me gusta bailar. A mí también, which means me too, or me as well, or me also. Affirmative and negative words. You're going to use affirmative and negative words to talk and write about who and what you know at school and express affirmative and negative ideas. So we just talked about it. To make a sentence negative, put no in front of the verb. No sacamos buenas notas en la clase de álgebra. We don't get good grades in algebra class. Sometimes you can also use a negative word after the verb, like this. No estudiamos nunca el sábado por la noche. We never study, never, on Saturday nights. So by now you know many affirmative and negative words. So positive, negative, and their opposites. Alguien, somebody, anybody. Nadie, no one, nobody. Algo, something. Nada, nothing. Algún, alguno, algunos, algunas. Some or any. Ningún, ninguno, ninguna. None or not any at all. Siempre, always. Nunca, never. También, also or too. Tampoco, neither or either. So, alguno, alguna, algunos, algunas, and ninguno, ninguna, these ones here in the middle. They match singular or plural, which means one or many, and gender, male or female, of the noun or object that they're referring to. So depending on what they're talking about, you have to make it match. So this should be feminine plural, my bad. ¿Ustedes van al laboratorio de computadoras en algunas clases? Do you all go to the computer lab in some classes? Classes is plural and feminine, so this is plural and feminine. No, no vamos al laboratorio en ninguna clase. No, we don't go to the lab in not one class. So notice clase is feminine. This is also feminine. Single, single. When algún and ninguno come before a masculine singular noun, a male single noun, they change to algún and ninguno. So, ¿vas a dar algún discurso en la clase de inglés? Are you going to give a speech in English class? Male single speech, male single adjective. No, no voy a dar ningún discurso. No, I'm not going to give not one speech. So let's go through this together. Los profesores muy estrictos. The teachers of the school are very strict. Complete the descriptions with the appropriate word. So, la profesora de álgebra es la más estricta de la escuela. The algebra teacher is the strictest of the school. Blank estudiante quiere estudiar con ella. Not one student wants to study with her. Student is singular and male in this case. So is it going to be ninguno or ningún? Well, remember, in front of a male single noun, ninguno has to change to ningún, not one. Hay muchas reglas en la clase. There are many rules in the class. Blank. Is it I also or neither? Also, también. En la clase de historia and history class tenemos blank reglas. We have no rules or some rules. We have some rules. Algunas reglas. Y son muy estrictas. And they're very strict. En nuestra escuela, blank podemos comer en clase. So it wants to say in our class, we can never eat anything in class. So pretty much we can never eat nothing. So it would be nunca podemos comer nada en clase. Remember, the more negatives there are in a sentence, the better for emphasis. Neither can we drink. Tampoco podemos beber. En la clase de ciencias, puedo trabajar con blank para hacer la tarea. So in science class, I can work with somebody to do the homework. Con alguien. Pero para la clase de inglés no podemos trabajar con. So, but in English class, we can't work with anybody. Con nadie. En la clase de español, blank trabajamos en parejas o en grupos para hacer proyectos. So in Spanish class, we blank work in pairs or groups to do projects. We always, ¿sí? Siempre trabajamos en parejas. So I don't know one school with all these rules. So, no conozco ninguna escuela con tantas reglas. Esta escuela tiene blank de los profesores más estrictas. This school has some of the most strictest teachers. So, profesores here is masculine and plural, so we need a masculine plural one. It is algunos. All right? So hopefully you were able to follow along with that. You have to pick the word that makes sense according to the instructions, and you have to know what these words mean. The verb conocer, to know or be familiar with a person, place, or thing, and the personal a. So you know conocer means to know or be familiar with a person, place, or thing. It is regular ER verb except the yo form, conozco. It's the only weird one. That Z comes out of nowhere. When you say you know a person, use the letter A after the verb. We call that the personal a. So let me show you how it works. Conozco a Estela, la amiga de Juan. I know Estela, Juan's friend. This a has no translation in English. It just doesn't, right? I know Stella. The reason there's a letter A here, the personal a, is because Estela is a person. So because she's a person, you use the personal a. But this one, ¿conoces la escuela Benito Juárez? Do you know the school Benito Juárez? It's talking about the school. The school's not a person, thus you don't need the personal a. When using conocer, to know or be familiar with a person, with alguien or nadie, somebody or nobody, you still need an a after the verb, the personal a, because both words refer to a person. ¿Conoces a alguien en esta escuela? Do you know someone in that school? Again, the personal a. No, no conozco a nadie. No, I don't know anybody. Somebody, anybody, still, it's talking about people. You need the personal a. So let's hear what this would sound like.
¿Conoces a algunos estudiantes trabajadores?
No, no conozco a ningún estudiante trabajador.
So, do you know some hardworking students? Notice, hardworking students, masculine and plural. Every single one of these words became plural, and this one became masculine. And he said, no, I don't know not one hardworking student. Because he was talking about a male hardworking student, he had to say ningún instead of ninguno. Culture, Mexico. They use a different grading system than we do. So grades. In the system of grades in Mexico, 1 is the lowest note and 10 logically is the highest grade. All of these grades are not great. In order to pass, an assignment needs a minimum of 6. So assignments of 6 and 7 are equivalent to a C in the United States. Grades of 8 are equivalent to a B, and 9 and 10 are like an A. So how are the notes according to the system in Mexico, and what system do you prefer? So it's very similar, right? Think of like 60, 70, 80, 90. So you can see all the grades here are pretty good except for Metodología de Ciencia 1. She has a 7 here. And El Mundo Hispano, the cultural world in the Spanish-speaking world. Are they more strict? In many Spanish-speaking countries, the relations between teachers and students are very formal or more formal than the United States. In many schools, the students stand up when the teachers enter the classroom. The students use usted, which is the formal or fancy you, when they speak with a teacher. And many times they call them professor or profesora without saying their last name. So think about how you communicate with your teachers. In this sense, is it similar or different of how you communicate with than those of the Spanish-speaking world? Magazines in the Spanish-speaking world culture. So revistas para jóvenes, magazines for youth. There are many magazines for youth in Spain. For example, the Spanish magazine Okapi has articles about themes of studies, social life, music, and school, and there are dedicated sections to the sciences, sports, history, technology, books, and much more. So there's going to be culture questions on your test, so you need to know some of these things. La cultura en vivo, so culture live, a new coat of arms. So the coat of arms is an ancient way that people would identify important families or royalty. The coat of arms has symbols, animals, and colors that represent the family. Today, many families continue using the coat of arms. Many companies, universities, and schools also use a coat of arms, and they are a modern version of this form of identification. So, as you know, even the state of Florida has a coat of arms on the middle of their flag. And preparation for the exam, what you need to do to be able to prepare for the exam. Here are some practice tasks, right? You're going to listen as two students compare their classes. What are 2 things that students do in both classes? What are 2 things that are different? Which class would you prefer and why? So let's listen.
¿Cómo es tu clase de español? En mi clase hay que entregar la tarea cada día y escribir un informe cada semana. También contestamos preguntas y hay que practicar en el laboratorio.
¡Ay! Mucho trabajo, ¿no? En mi clase hay que prestar atención, pero no entregamos la tarea cada día. Practicamos y contestamos preguntas en el laboratorio. Discutimos algo de interés cada día en español y hacemos muchos proyectos.
And here are your activities. And you have a test at the very end of this chapter. Make sure you get it done. Go all the way through the module. Thank you and have a great day.